So we're going to start seated. So if you're not seated yet, go ahead and come to a comfortable seat. If that means cross-legged, that's great. If that means something else for your body today, then do that. And once you're there, find your sits bones, root down, and you wiggle back and forth. And then grow through your spine. So try to elongate your spine. Feel yourself growing tall. Reach through the crown of your head. So if you had a crown on top of your head, it's the back part of the crown. And so you want to tuck your chin ever so slightly so the back of your neck lengthens. And then you can close your eyes or just cast them down without lowering your chin. And just notice your breath. Where is your breath right now? So that might seem like a weird question. My breath likes to live up high if I'm not paying attention to it. So when we live up high, that actually causes a lot of our secondary breathing muscles to work instead of our primary breathing muscle, which is our, oh my gosh, what is that called? I don't remember in this moment. Our diaphragm, there we go. So our diaphragm should be our primary breathing muscle. It's a muscle that cannot get tired. Our secondary breathing muscles can get tired. So as you notice where your breath is, start to bring it lower if yours stays high like mine. If yours is already low, then try to expand it even more. So allow your belly to come out as you breathe in, letting your diaphragm have room to move down. And then as you exhale, your diaphragm moves up, and often your belly moves in a little bit. So breathe through the nose, if at all possible. Big breaths in, letting that diaphragm have space to descend. Big breaths out, letting that diaphragm come back to kind of a neutral position. And then start to allow the ribs to move. So those muscles that move the ribs in and out are secondary muscles. And we want to use them when we're breathing deep, but we don't want to just use them, which is what happens when your breath is up high. So inhaling, belly expands, and then rib cage expands. Exhale, rib cage comes back towards the midline, belly comes back in. Feel that slight engagement of your core at the end of the breath. That's a good thing. And then keep breathing, belly, rib cage. Moving out in all directions, and then coming back in. And then think about your pelvic floor. So it's near your sits bones, a little bit in front of your sits bones, so between your sits bones and your pelvic bone. And it's like a little net that holds everything up. And it's a huge group of muscles. So as you breathe in, the pelvic floor actually descends. And as you breathe out, the pelvic floor comes up towards your belly button. And you can actually engage your pelvic floor so that it comes up a little bit more towards your belly button on the exhale. So when you're ready, take another inhale. Belly expands, rib cage expands, pelvic floor descends. And then exhale, belly comes in, rib cage comes in, and pelvic floor comes up. And if you kind of squeeze the pelvic floor in and up, that is what we call Mula Bandha. So just try to feel within yourself your pelvic floor activating, and then releasing on the inhale, activating on the exhale. Releasing on the inhale, activating on the exhale. And then after you take your next inhale, we're gonna exhale through the lips, like you're blowing on hot tea, or like you're blowing on a candle that you don't quite want to blow out. You want to just make the flame flicker. So take a deep inhale, and then exhale, blowing out through the lips. So you'll notice that the exhale is really long. That's what we want. Do it again. Inhale through the nose, and then exhale through the lips. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the lips. And then maybe start to count. Try to inhale to a count of 3 or 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale to like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then count on your own. Do it 2 more times. And if your eyes are closed, open them gently, lean back into your hands, extend your legs out, and shake it out. And then if crossed legs are still working for you, go ahead and do that, and then shake your arms out. Shake your head no, nod it yes. Roll your shoulders gently and slowly, maybe even with your breath, inhaling to come forward and up, and exhaling to go back and down. Inhaling forward and up, exhale back and down. And then just let your body like move a little freely with your shoulders. You can reverse direction, you can alternate the shoulders. You can do shoulders up and down. Just wiggle a little bit. Good. All right, let's inhale together. Through the nose, reach the arms up high, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, side bend to the right. Pause for an inhale. Exhale here. And then inhale back to center. Exhale over to the left. Keep that right sits bone grounded. So both are grounded. The weight is in the one that you're leaning towards. When you inhale the second time, come back up to center, and then make it your own. So you can hold for a breath in the side bend. If you want more movement, you can take the inhale straight to center and exhale straight to the other side. So you can move a little bit more. If you're sore, you probably want to stretch a little bit more and hold that breath. But it's up to you. Think about pressing your shoulders away from the ears the whole time. And if you're holding for a breath, you can play with like kind of coming forward a little bit and then pushing back a little bit and then finding that center space. So you really want to be side bending to the center space to equally stretch the back muscles and the forward muscles. So there are muscles on the front of the side and the back of the side. And you want to stretch them both, and you want to learn where your center is. When you go to the left the last time and then you come back to center, exhale into a forward fold. And wherever your body stops you, just rest there with neck loose, head hanging heavy. And then come out of that just a little bit. So pull yourself back a little bit and walk your hands over to one side. And just pause. Allow your arm that's reaching towards that far side to stretch the back or wherever you feel it. Maybe you feel it extra in your hip. And then walk the hands through center. Remember, you're away from your edge. You're at like 60 or 40% of your edge. And then walk the hands over to the other side. Breathing deeply, noticing where the breath gets to go and where it is restricted. And walk the hands back to center. You can sink in a little bit if you have a little extra space. 2 more breaths here. Think about breathing into the back ribs, letting your breath expand your shoulder blades, stretching the muscles between the shoulder blades and along the spine. And then walk the hands towards the body, rolling up. Extend your legs out. You can kick them if you want, but eventually we're going to cross them with the other leg in front so that we don't sit very often. And I know it feels really weird, so just bear with it. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, come forward. Pause there, stay right there. Breathe into the side muscles. Just gonna adjust a little bit so I can see better. Notice that this hip might feel tighter than the other one. That's normal. Walk the hands back towards your body, roll up to the spine, bring the chin up. Let's swing our legs over to one side and come up onto our hands and knees. Stacking the shoulders over the wrists, stacking the hips over the knees. And then we'll come into cat-cow first. So inhale, allow your belly to descend down towards the mat. Chin and sits bones lift. Exhale, round into cat. And inhale into cow. And then move with your breath. So however your breath moves, let your body follow. I always like to wag my tail in each pose, and if you need an extra breath to do that, you can slow it down, or you can move with the breath. And then when you feel ready, sit your sits bones back towards your heels. You probably won't touch. You can widen your knees if you want extra space for your belly, or if you just want to get closer to the mat. And then come into child's pose. If you need to bend the elbows to have a little extra support, that's totally fine, or you can keep arms reached out. Take a few breaths. If you ever need a rest in a yoga class, this is a really good spot to come. Most yoga teachers understand that if you bring yourself into child's pose, it's just because you need a little break. Then inhale, lift the gaze and the shoulders just enough so that you can walk those hands over to one side, so maybe to the right. And then exhale, notice that your forehead might not come down to the ground, even if it did in the center, and that's okay. Your head can just hang heavy. And then feel where your body is stretching. It might be along the arm, it might be in the armpit, it might be along the back or the side. You might feel some compression in your hip flexor, and that's okay as long as it's not painful. We never want pain. And if you do feel pain, back off. Inhale, lift the gaze and the shoulders just enough to come back through center and then over to the left. Rest there and breathe. Inhale, bring the gaze up, shoulders up, and then come back to child's pose, any version that you want. And then come back up when you feel ready to table. So we're really trying to, at least here at the beginning of class, trying to get into the back and into just the core muscles, both strengthening and stretching them, because we're thinking about the breath today, because we actually can breathe the air. So we're gonna thread the needle, and if that doesn't work for you, you can choose something else that you know, okay? So you might want to bring your left hand in just a little bit, or you can leave it right where it is. When you're ready, inhale the right arm up to the sky. We're not gonna go down to thread the needle quite yet. Exhale, loop the right arm under the left and reach for the opposite wall. Feel that opens up the back body. Then inhale, bring the arm back up to the sky. So this is opening the front body. And then exhale, reach for that opposite wall. Inhale, reach for the sky. And then exhale, this time come down onto the shoulder and the side of the head. If this feels like too much pressure, you can always lower your sits bone or your tailbone down towards your heels and do it more than a child's pose. And then the left hand can choose where it wants to go. It can reach up to the sky. It can reach overhead with palm on the mat. And it can also reach behind the back. So those are some choices, and whatever you choose to do with the left hand, we'll probably choose to do that on the other side as well, just to keep the body even. Good. The left hand can also just rest in front of the face. One more breath. And then wherever the left hand is, bring the palm back in front of your face, press into the mat to come back up to table. Wiggle it out here. So whatever you need, you can just wiggle the torso, you can wiggle one arm at a time, you can wiggle one leg at a time. Oops. You can kick over your water, and then we'll go to the other side. Inhale the left arm up to the sky. Exhale, reach for the opposite wall. Inhale, reach up, open the front body. Exhale, open the back body. Inhale, reach. This time, come down onto your shoulder and the side of the head. Just notice how you feel, and then move the right arm wherever you would like it to be. Deep breaths. Enjoying the clean air. I was thinking late this week that you don't appreciate the things that we so take for granted until they're gone, right? Like clean water, clean air, clean bathroom facilities. It's like the things we just expect to be there. And then when they're gone, you notice how important they are. Bring your right hand in front of your face. Press into the mat to come back up to table. And then if you would like, you can walk the hands one hand length forward, tuck the toes, and come into down dog. If you don't want to do down dog, then I would suggest that you extend one leg, tuck the toe, and then press into the heel to get that hamstring, calf, Achilles tendon stretch. So both options are okay. If you're doing the one leg instead of down dog, I'll tell you when to switch. If you're doing down dog, go ahead and either pedal the feet or come into a still down dog. I like to pedal the feet the first time we get here because the backs of my legs are always a little bit like need some waking up. If you're doing the kneeling version, go ahead and switch the legs. So bring the right knee back to table, left leg extends, tuck the toe, press the heel back. Deep breaths. Whichever version you're doing, you get the same benefits. And then if you're in down dog, lower the knees and come into child's pose. If you are extending one leg, do the same. Bring that leg back in and come into child's pose. Little rest here. Just thinking about your breath, bringing it into the back body. And come back up to table. This is the last thing we're going to do. If your wrists start to bother you, you can always come to fists. So lots of options here. Most of you that take my class all the time know this. So we're going to extend the right leg behind, heel reaching out to the back wall, toes pointed down so the hip points stay pointed down. And then option to use left arm as well. You can keep left arm down for extra support or bring it up for a little extra core work. And then you can flow this. So on the exhale, the knee comes towards the elbow, chin tucks in. Inhale, hand and foot reach apart as far as possible. Exhale, it comes in. Inhale out. Last week we added this awkward one where we bring the elbow and the knee out to the side on the exhale. And then inhale. So you can choose what you do. You can also just hold it. You can also do the flow with just the leg and the head. Bringing the head and the knee towards each other. Do about 2 more. Whichever version you're doing. Good. If you're adding in that side one, it's awkward, but it's so good for those side core muscles. And then come back to child's pose. Little rest here. So when we do core work, that speeds up our breath, it speeds up our heart, which is all good, but we're in a gentle class. So we want to let our body come back down to a settled space. When our heart rate increases, it often starts triggering the sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight, flight, or freeze nervous system. And especially in a gentle class, we don't want to do that. We want to keep our body calm and relaxed. All right, one more breath, and then come back up to table. And then the other leg, so left leg extends back. And then all the same options are there. Right arm can go, or it can stay down. If right arm comes up, turn the palm towards the midline. And then option to hold, or to flow. So exhale always brings you in. Inhale brings you out. If you want to do the awkward one, elbow and knee, come to the side. On the exhale, come back on the inhale. Exhale to come in. Inhale to reach. Exhale to come in. Inhale to reach. Do about 2 more. And then replace the knee. 1 more child's pose. So I would do this if I was allowed to, but I'm not allowed to get off my mat. In child's pose, it feels really nice if someone just gently presses on your hips. So if you're at home and you have someone around, you can have them gently press on your hips. And of course you want to communicate to them like, oh, you can press more, or yep, stop right there. And I have kids at home. So instead of having them press on my hips, I have them just lie on top of me, which they love, and it feels like amazing. So you can play around with child's pose at home. All right. Come back up to table. If you want to take another down dog, this is your chance, your last chance for down dog in this class. If you want to skip down dog, feel free to do some C curves or cat-cow in table. But just 1 more down dog for those of you that want to get a little bit more upside down. Because we have fresh air, because we can breathe a little bit better, it is great to get inverted, which down dog is an inversion, every single day. It's really good for mental health because it brings so much oxygenated blood to your brain. If you were in down dog, go ahead and lower the knees. And then we're gonna sit the hips back to one side of the feet, swing the feet around. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit more core and then we will be all done. So, bend the knees, bring the hands behind the thighs, like close to the knees. So you're gonna extend your body back until your arms are straight. So notice when you're up like this, I can feel that I'm on my 6 bones. I'm rocking off my 6 bones. So I kind of tend to be in the space between my tailbone and my 6 bones. So that's kind of where it's best for me to balance. It's not on my tailbone, it's not on my 6 bones, and you kind of have to find your own. So lots of options here for this boat pose. You can stay right here. You can lift one leg. You can lift both legs. You can let go when you have legs lifted. You can let go when you have legs on the ground. You can also have both legs lifted, let go or hold, and tap one toe, and then tap the other toe. I'm not going to demo this a ton, just because my belly doesn't want to do this today. So pick your options, and if you ever need a break, or if you feel like your low back is like caving, come back and reset. Engage the core so that the back stays with its integrity, and come back into it. Don't forget to breathe. So we all have different core strengths. Those of us that have a little bit more flesh than maybe we would like, the awesome thing is when we're doing stuff like this, like we're working way harder than those really skinny people. So just remember that. Those of you that have more meat and more flesh on your body. And then everyone go ahead and allow the feet to descend onto the mat. And you can choose to let go, or you can choose to hold on, and you're gonna roll down. You're gonna tuck like a cat pose, and you're gonna roll down slowly onto your back. Beautiful. Bring the knees into the chest. Rock side to side. And then bring the feet down. They can be wide, even as wide as your mat, and we're gonna rock our knees. So these knee rocks are good counter poses to that core work, because it's stretching out some of those muscles on the front of the body. You can hold on one side if it feels good. It also stretches the hip flexor and lots of other things. Deep breaths. Once you feel done with your knee rocks, bring the knees back up to point to the sky. Bring your heels in line with your sits bones, and then cross the right leg onto the left thigh. Flex the right foot. Pause here. Just notice how it feels. And then, if you have space to do so, you can lift the left leg off the ground. You can take your hands around the left thigh. You can extend the left leg up to the sky, or let the knee relax. You can circle the left ankle. You can also gently rock your body side to side. So once again, lots of options here in this figure 4 pose. Make it your own. Test out the options if you've never done those options before, and then choose what is going to be best for your body in this moment. Don't forget about the breath. Try to breathe in, maybe to a count of 4. Breathe out. If you're breathing out through the nose, maybe to a count of 5. Try to make it a little bit longer than the inhale. If you want to do that candle breath where you're breathing through your lips, out maybe to a count of 6 or even 7. A long exhale triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the one that helps us fall asleep. That's the one that brings us calm. That's the one we need when we are not running from a bear. But in our society, we spend too much time in the sympathetic nervous system, as if we were running from a bear, but there's no bear, right? So all of the anxiety disorders and problems with insomnia come from the fact that the sympathetic nervous system is activated. And I'm not saying that that's the person's fault. I'm kind of saying it's our society's fault. And so yoga helps us counteract that, which I am grateful for, because I do suffer from anxiety, and yoga has massively helped me. All right, left leg floats back down to the earth, right leg uncrosses. In between our figure 4s, we're going to do a little bit of knee rocking in a different way. So reach your hands up to the ceiling, right above your shoulders, and then let your hands come to the opposite elbows. So elbows are reaching up to the ceilings above the shoulders. We're going to rock our arms side to side. So when I rock my arms to the right, my left shoulder kind of peels off the mat, but I can feel a stretch across the back of my shoulder. And then towards the other way. Start to link this to your breath. So maybe the inhale brings you center, exhale brings you to the left. Inhale brings you center, exhale brings you to the right. If that's too slow, the inhale can bring you to the left or right. And then the exhale brings you the other direction. So that speeds it up a little bit. And then take your knees the opposite way of your elbows. So if elbows are going to the left, knees go to the right. Come to center together, and then opposite. Good. So it can be as slow or as fast as you want, but just try to keep it linked to your breath. So once again, we're getting into the shoulders, we're getting into the core muscles with this kind of extra twist. The shoulders are twisting the opposite way the hips are. So it works the core muscles to bring us back to center, and it stretches as we move away. Do 2 more or 3 more, depending on which way you started. If you don't remember, it's okay. And then come back to center. Realign, so your heels are in line with your sits bones. Maybe press into your heels and lift the hips just slightly to give the low back a little extra space. And then cross the left ankle onto the right thigh. Flex that left foot. Pause here. Just notice, how does your body feel? And then if you have space to do so, bring the right leg into the sky. And then lots of options here again. You can rock gently, you can extend the right leg up, you can circle the ankle, take it the other direction. Big long exhales. If you need to, you can sigh out of the mouth. We need to appreciate slowing down. We need to appreciate this time that we set aside to nourish our body, to quiet our mind, and to cultivate peace within ourselves, calm within ourselves, so that we can take those things off the mat and use them in our everyday life. It seems like just yesterday that I was pregnant with my now 2-year-old, but when I was pregnant, I was thinking a lot about the birthing process. And one thing a lot of people suggest is like imagery. So like and having a space that you can imagine yourself in where you're calm and quiet and not having intense feelings like contractions. And then during the birthing process, you can kind of take yourself, right, to that place. And I think that's a lot of what like extreme athletes do as well. They have like a place that they go when they're hurting, that they can imagine themselves not hurting, and it gets them through those points in, you know, whatever they're doing, triathlon or whatever. And so I kind of find that to be like my yoga space. My yoga space is me creating those images, and then when my children are yelling at each other and my husband is not parenting the way I want him to parent, I can like go to that space and use that calm that I cultivate on my mat to deal with that situation, you know? So that is what we try to do here on the mat, is cultivate the things that we want to use out in our everyday life. Let's let the right leg float back down to the mat, and across the left leg. Knee rock a little bit. If you want to add the arms in, you can do that, going the opposite direction. And come back to center, whether you're using the arms or not. And we're going to pull the right knee into the chest. We're going to allow the left leg to extend down. Breathe. So we're going to do a little flow here with this side. So we're going to exhale. We're going to curl up on that exhale. Then inhale, curl down. Exhale, let the knee come away from the body. Inhale, pull the knee back. Exhale, curl up. Inhale, come back down. Exhale, knee away. Inhale, knee toward the body. Exhale, curl up. Inhale, curl down. Exhale, let the knee float away. Inhale, bring it back in. One more time. Exhale, curl up. Inhale, down. Knee floats away. Inhale, bring it in. Good job. And then you're going to take the right hand and, if at all possible, kind of wrap it around the front of the knee. And you're going to take the knee out to the side. I like to put my left hand on my hip to remind my left hip stay where you are. Don't start twisting or pulling off the mat. You're just going to open that knee out to the side, wherever it wants to go, as wide as possible, without lifting that left hip. And then bring it back into center. Pause there. Just the knee into the chest. And then allow that leg to go long down the mat as well. Reach your arms overhead and just kind of shake it out. Big long body. Try to actively reach your arms up. Shoulders can even come up towards the ears. Actively reach your legs down. Make your body as long as you can. And then relax. Gently bend both knees. Lift the hips to extend the low back and give it a little bit more space. Bring the left knee in to the chest. Right leg goes down the mat. And then we're going to do that flow again. This time I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you it once, and then you get to let your body follow your breath. So start with an exhale, curl up. Inhale, curl down. Exhale, knee away. Inhale, knee towards. 3 more times with your breath. And then just pause after you've done your 3. Let anyone that's still flowing catch up. And then wrap your left hand around the front of the knee. Right hand maybe comes to the right hip to remind it to stay right where it is. And then open the knee out to the left. So this is working on our hip mobility. Some of us have lots of hip mobility, some of us have less hip mobility. Wherever we are is fine. We just want to kind of increase our hip mobility that keeps our joint healthy. And then bring the knee back to center. Pause there just for a moment. I forgot this on the other side, so we'll go back to the other side in a moment. Left hand out to a T, right hand on the knee now, guides the knee over to the right. So supine spinal twist, If you have a different twist that you prefer, you can take that as well. Left shoulder remains on the mat. Here comes the train, so let's just stay here if possible as the train passes. If it gets too intense, feel free to come back to center. Bring the knee gently back to center. Let that foot float down to the mat. Bend the other knee. Lift the hips. Realign your spine. And then bring the right knee into the chest. Sometimes I find that it's good to scoot the hips to the right a bit before you twist. So if you want to try that, you can do that. Then extend the left leg down. Right arm out to a T, left hand brings the right knee across, right shoulder stays grounded. So I heard someone once ask Sarah Teal, the owner of the studio, like when you were, oh man, my battery is running low, those of you online, and I don't have a plug close enough. So it says I have 8 minutes. So if my computer dies while you're in Shavasana, just bring yourself out, okay? I'm so sorry. Got a thumbs up from Leslie, so hopefully the rest of you are good. Anyway, so someone asked Sarah Teal when she bought this or rented, I don't know what she does, whatever, got this space, if she was nervous about the train, and she was like, yeah. But I love the train. I love how I can feel the ground in the studio. I'm like shaking a little bit when the train goes by. It makes me feel grounded. Like it makes me feel like, yes, I am in tune with both what's inside me and with what's going on around me. Anyway, I thought it was funny that she was super nervous about that. All right, bring the knee back to center. Plant that foot, realign the spine. If you need to take any last motion or movements before Shavasana, feel free to do that. But it is time, so go ahead and extend your feet down the mat. Letting the heels be about mat width. Tucking the shoulder blades slightly under the body. Letting the heart space be open and accepting. Arms by the sides, but a little bit away from the body. And just rest.